Okay, so next up we're going to learn about the constructor function. Constructor function. Did I say construction function? I meant constructor function. Okay, so let's get into it. Now, the basic idea of object-oriented programming, or OOP, is that we use objects to model real-world things that we want to represent inside our programs, and or provide a simple way to access functionality that would otherwise be hard or impossible to make use of. So first of all, let's make just a small recap about objects. So let's type in here comment of object recap. Now let's just create a const, and let's say user, and we will assign it a name. So we have our first property of name, Norbert, and let's say Norbert also has an age, and we will use a number of 35. And up here should be a comma. Why do I always keep forgetting to insert the comma? Okay, let's console log our user, and there we get our object with the properties of age and name. And if we want, for example, to add something to this, or let's first of all let's just get our name from the object. I will type in name, and this will only give us the name. And if we only want the age, this will give us the age. Okay, now we know when we want to add properties, then we would do user dot let's say we only have our first name. Let's add a last name, and we'll assign it to Meinhardt, to a string or Meinhardt. We don't need this. Okay, so if I would go down here now and console log our user dot last name, we'll get Meinhardt. And also if I just console log the user, we'll now see it also has a last name. Now if we want to add a method, so add method to our object, and we will say user dot full name, and we will add, let's say, a string literal of user dot name and user dot full name, and we would call now our full name. Let's say console log user dot full name. We will get our full name and unidentified. Oh, sorry, last name. I type in here full name. There we go, Norbert Meinhardt. Okay, so we also got our method, and well, it's basically almost the same thing for constructor functions, because now if we are dealing only with one object, this is pretty simple. But if we are dealing with multiple instances of objects, we need to create constructor functions. I keep saying constructions. So let's see how we do this. And why are this so important? Because JavaScript uses special functions called constructor functions. So let's also type in here title of constructor functions. Now JavaScript uses constructor functions to define and initialize objects and their features. And they're extremely useful because you will often come across situations in which you don't know how many objects you will create, and the constructor provides the means to create as many objects as you need in an effective way. So attaching data, that means properties, and functions, which are methods, to them objects, the constructor functions are extremely helpful. So first things first, a constructor function starts with a capital letter. So we just use the keyword function, and then let's say teacher, but with a capital T. Okay. Next up, the constructor function has arguments. So let's say name, and let's say age, and let's also say gender. Okay, now within curly braces, we'll say that this dot name is equal to name. Oh, actually, let me show you something else. So this dot name and is equal to Norbert. So as soon as I do this, and now I would call our constructor function, let's see what happens. So first of all, this is a function. So there's our constructor function. It's this console. So it awaits a name, an age, and a gender, and well, we just log the constructor function itself. As you can see, this only calls the constructor function. So what we need to do now is instantiate. I'm missing an N here. Instantiate an object to the constructor functions. Let's say const, and let's say that the teacher is Norbert, and this will be a new teacher. Okay, so let's close this. Now let's go down here with the console log, and this will have now a name of Norbert, the new teacher. The teacher's age will be 35 and his gender will be male. Okay, so let's save this. A. Now if I would console log Norbert, now I'm going to get the teacher with the name of Norbert. Now as you can see, we are still missing a few things. We are missing here the age, so we need to call this dot age, and this dot gender. Now if we take a look in our construction, we can still see nothing appears because we need to assign them a value, and I can assign that this dot age is age, and it will now automatically take the age from the new teacher of Norbert, and this dot gender is gender, and it will take the value of the gender that we inserted here in our new teacher. So down here, when I console logged Norbert, it will give me the exact properties of the new object called Norbert, which are for the name Norbert, for the age 35, and for the gender male. Now if I would create a new object, let's say const Laura, and assign it to a new teacher, and let's say Laura has the name of, because the constructor function is awaiting now a name, so let's say Laura, a age of 30, and gender female. Okay, now let's console log Laura and see what happens. I can see the name is still remaining Norbert, age is 30, and gender is female. This is because I hard-coded here, the name. So let's also call here the name. And as soon as I do this, now it's getting the information from its properties. So it's awaiting for a name, which is for Laura, Laura. It's awaiting now for an age, which is 30, and a gender, which is female in this case. And if I would go back to Norbert and change the name again, now the teacher is Norbert. Now if I only want to get the name from Norbert, then we could do again Norbert.name. Now only get Norbert. We could do Norbert.age. This will give me 35. We could also do something like Norbert name plus empty space plus Norbert dot age, and we will get a Norbert 35. Okay, so let's say you want to add a new property, so a new argument. We could go up here, and we have it, there it is. And let's say we want to add start work. So I started working at some point. When did Norbert start working as a teacher? So let's say this dot start work, and now I will assign it to a new object, a new date object, and this should await for the start work argument. Now let's go down here, and for Norbert let's go now with let's say 9, this should be in a string, 10, 5, and 2000. Now let's go in here and let's change the console log to just Norbert, and let's see what we get. So now we also got the start work, which you can see has also a proto, and we'll get into this a little bit later on. So he started working on Tuesday, October the 5th, 2000. Now, how about we calculate his work experience? So from the day he started working, how much year did it pass? How much years did pass? And what is his experience? So let's go down here. Let's say this dot work xp is equal to a function. So now we're creating our first method here. Let's say const work experience today is equal to new date, actually date dot now, because we want to get now, minus this dot start work, and we want to get here get time. So we want to use our get time method. This will get the time in milliseconds, as we learned earlier on in our course. Now the next thing we need is, let's assign this to another variable. So let's say const age date, because we want now to assign this to a new date object, date, and this will get our work experience day. And now we should return let's say, so first of all, a string of work experience plus, we'll use now the math function, and we want to get an absolute value, and we'll subtract from 2020 so the age date, and dot get full year, which is also a method. Okay, plus, and we want to type in here now years. Okay, so let's see what we get now. If we go down here and run the method from Norbert of work experience, let's see what we get. So work experience 31 years. Let me also make here space. And now we just created within this object a method. So let's say I want to get the experience from Laura. So let me just copy this and go in here, and let's change this to 2010, and we should get now 21 years. If we also console log Laura, wait just a second, I just used the wrong function. So it's actually not 2000, it's actually a pretty commonly used function on the internet. If you also want to look this up, it's actually this age get full year and minus 1970. Okay, so this is actually just a function which you will see used really often on the internet for getting the year. Okay, so yeah, we're left now with 9 years of experience, and if we change this to 2020 for Laura, we have only 1 year of experience. Okay guys, so that's pretty much it for constructor functions. I hope you got the idea. If you want to instantiate another one, for example, you take your own name and try this out for yourself. And yeah, see you in the next video. So see you soon. Bye bye.